The WWH Show. This is a show that asks a series of why, what, and how questions on topics that have national, regional, and global significance and implications. Today, we have such a topic to talk about: why reflective planning is critical for individual and organizational success. I have the privilege to have this discussion with Dr. Gabe Hamda, who is the founder and CEO of ICAT Consulting. Gabe, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to have you again in this studio. We're gonna. By the way, the discussion we had last time, it was about team building.
Yes.
Many people, thousands of people watched it on our website, on our YouTube, and also via satellite. Some people contacted me, gave me feedback, and I know also that some people contacted you and gave you feedback. So you performed great, and that's why thousands of people watched your interview and learned a lot of insights out of it.
Wonderful. So I'm back by popular demand.
Yes, exactly. Because you performed great last time, we have you here, and we believe that today you also provide us great insights, methods, approach for us to be successful this year, 2015. The good thing is that we're not that far away from the new year. So it's very, very important to me, to our audience, to tap into this opportunity, plan for 2015, and make it the best year ever.
It looks like you're ready for the year, right?
Yes.
So am I.
Yep. So this discussion is going to give us some insights so that we may improve our planning. I believe that some people might have already some planning for this year. So this discussion is going to give them some more insights, some more approach, so that they may tap into this method and achieve great things this year.
Wonderful.
So let's begin our discussion by asking a simple but very important question. Why should we care about planning? Why don't you just live life as it comes?
Okay. You know, that's an approach. Actually, there are two ways of living a life. One is to just do it, the Nike way, just do it. Just
don't worry about planning, just do it.
Just, do whatever comes your way. The other approach is to plan. So obviously today we're going to talk about planning, specifically about reflective planning. So why do we plan? For, 2-3 reasons. Most of all, you have limited resources, limited time. You are supposed to have 12 hours a day. The rest is supposed to be leisure and rest and sleep, right? So, for those, because you have limited time to accomplish what you want to accomplish, you need a plan, okay? Second is, life is full of stress. If you want to have a stress-free life, you want to have a plan. Otherwise, with anything, with so many things on your to-do list, you can be stressed out trying to accomplish so many things. And also, if you want to succeed, you need a focus. You want to focus on your goals. You want to focus on what it is you want to accomplish. So for those reasons, planning will be a good thing to, to have an orderly life and to have a stress-free life and to work within your means and within your resources.
I like that because it's very relevant why we should have plan, because you mentioned the scarce resources. You mentioned about the scarce time we have, like 24 hours. Out of 24 hours, maybe 8 or 10 hours per day to do real things. The rest, as you mentioned, about sleeping, resting, hanging out with people. But also scarce finance. We don't have everything. I mean, we don't have millions of dollars or thousands of dollars freely available. We have scarce finance. We have to make sure that we spend those scarce finances to those things that are the most important thing for our life in our organization. And also about our network. We have a scarce network. We know very few people. I mean, we don't have the whole world. So if we want to tap into our network, we have to plan and use planning to make sure that we utilize the network we have. I also like about the stress you mentioned. Yes. Think about life in the diaspora. It's very tight and everybody is stressed out. There are so many things to do. You have limited time and resources and finance. So planning is one way of alleviating your stress by managing your time and scarce resources. So that's really powerful to convince people that they have to start planning if they are.
Absolutely. There are so many things that need your attention, that need your money, that need your time. For one, I'm sure ISAT wants your money, your time, your attention, right? Exactly. Yes, sir, you are smiling. that too.
Remind our audience as
Yes,
well, yeah, they have
you know,
to,
you may have
support
just
that.
so many family members who need your attention, and there are so many people out there who need your time, and there are so many television programs that need to be watched. Well, you know, are you going to have time for all of those? So, you know, you just have to kind of focus on what you are about. You know, here is, I'm a very practical person. Try going to a mall with $100 without any goal. Guess what? I have this very sarcastic view. If you want to be broke, you know, every time you see sale, you see something on sale, go buy the next item that you don't need. So I would say, you know, you got to have a plan, you got to have a goal, so that your resources are well spent and your time is well managed.
So I think maybe it's a little bit sarcastic.
Yes.
But maybe many nations are failing, many organizations go bankrupt, or many relationships ruined, many families disarrayed, maybe because they don't sit down and plan.
Absolutely.
Could be one of the reasons.
It could be one of the reasons. You know, we're not going to make the big, you know, statements about,
Yeah,
you know,
that's right, yeah.
you know, the countries and the globe and nations and groups. And I like to kind of deal with, you know, maybe individuals and families.
Yeah.
Let's kind of go back to kind of what we define as a year. You know, for most of us in the Western world, this is kind of the beginning of the year. So I'm not really hung up about beginning of the year or end of the year. You know, it may be your birthday, okay? Your birthday may be in February, so that may be a beginning of something for you to kind of reflect. Or it may be a milestone. You may be celebrating your wedding anniversary. Or it may be, you know, a child born in your family, or you may have a new job, or you may have started a new business. So I think those are moments for you to kind of do some planning, some thinking, how I'm going to spend, you know, the resources I have and the time I have. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a year. Or so it just have to be some milestones in your life when, you know, planning needs to be triggered.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned this year plan, and I know that I've been studying, you know, how people come up with their New Year's resolution. For example, it's popular. Many people have their own New Year's resolution, and the disappointing thing about the New Year's resolution is that mostly it doesn't provoke emotion. You know, you just come up with, I want to go to school this year. I want to, you know, lose weight. I want to open a business and so on. You have this list of things, and you don't really have anything to provoke your emotion. You don't become accountable. Today you list out your New Year's resolution, come 3 months from now, and you forgot about them. Maybe you don't even go back and reflect on this New Year resolution. So I think that may be a good approach to avoid this kind of failure, like focus maybe on milestones than just planning for the whole year, or even writing down what you want to do for the whole year.
Absolutely. You know, to kind of, it's like, I like to read the end of a chapter of a book early on so that I know what it's talking about. So basically what we are talking about in this reflective planning is there are two ways you can have your plan fulfilled. One way is to write it down, okay? When you write it down, for one, you may not forget, like, you know, in 3 months it is written down, so there is a good chance you remember it. And there is also research that shows that plans that are written down have a better chance of being fulfilled or being accomplished. So one technique of having your plan being successful is to write it down. The second thing is to share, to have an accountability partner, whether that is your spouse or a friend or a family member or a colleague, is to share with them. Listen, you know, I'm trying to maintain a certain, you know, health habits, okay? Let's say I want to stay away from sweets, okay? Or I want to stay away from, you know, kind of randomly spending my money or something. I want to, you know, kind of spend no more than, you know, $100 just to kind of giving away, you know, whatever it is. So sharing it with someone also gives you an accountability partner. So writing it down and sharing with people important in your life are two ways. So I just shared with you the last chapter of our conversation. Those two things. Maybe you can come back later on and talk about them. But so those are ways.
Yeah, I like the way you approach, for example, how you read books. You start from the end. I could say there are many school of thoughts, but let me pick two of them when it comes to strategic planning, for example. One is to forecast. Let's say I may forecast saying that in 2060 there won't be any oil reserve, and I may plan to overcome this challenge as an organization or as a nation. Or I could say that in 2020 I want to be a millionaire and predict that. But the problem with this school of thought is that when you predict, when you forecast, it may not come true. And we have seen so many forecasters who failed. But there is another way of strategically planning. For example, you can start from the in, which means you go to the future, you can reflect and come up with an idea or a concept or a decision, and having that in your mind and plan back. That way you're the one trying to create your future rather than forecasting it and expecting something to happen. Why don't you create something? Why don't you go to the future, launch yourself, project yourself into the future, and then plan backward. That way you could be able to create the future you want. So I think that's the one you're trying to favor, which means rather than us, just planning something that we want to achieve, why don't we reflect, go to the future, maybe come back and write it down and try to achieve it.
Absolutely. Big difference. We are talking about planning and now forecasting. That's another chapter. Yeah. Actually, I'm not qualified to forecast things. But if you just talk about, I'm more about an individual success or family success or organizational success. And what I advocate is reflective planning, which is, pretty much, okay, what have I been successful in, okay, so that I can do it better? Or, what are my needs and what are my values, okay? Maybe you are really interested in advancing your career, okay? You want to earn more, you want to double your income by end of year, okay? Let's say you want to just stay on that modest goal, okay? You may be making $100,000, or you may be making $50,000, or you may be making $150,000 by end of year. You want to double your income. I think that's a very reasonable, plan, forecast, if you want to call it forecast. So we're talking about those kinds of practical life, whether it is family or it may be your business. Okay, your business may be, just as I said, maybe making $100,000. Maybe you want to double it. So if we just look at that, reflective planning is to say, okay, what are things that we value, as a person? What are things we value as a family? What are things we value as an organization? So reflective planning is to kind of reflect on your values, reflect on your strength, and reflect on things that matter to you. So that's kind of what makes it reflective. The fact you are thoughtful. You are, just as you said very well early on, you are not just randomly saying, okay, I'm gonna make $1 billion, which may not be realistic, okay? So you wanna make it real, you wanna make it tied to your values, you wanna tie it to your strength, and you wanna tie it to the resources that you have, so within your means. So it's kind of like a reasonable, thoughtful way of planning is kind of what we wanna focus on in this conversation.
By the way, I like you're trying to keep us under the scope, and I think we have some questions we're going to discuss, so that during that time we're going to give them what to do to
absolutely
reflective planning. So let's go to another question, which is I have found out many people think that planning about the future is ungodly. Let me give a little bit of perspective about the question.
Okay.
I respect the religious belief of everybody I meet. So I'm not here to promote any religious ideas or undermine any religious doctrine or dogma and so on. I have friends, Muslim friends, Christian friends, Jew friends, and also Buddhist believers, Buddhism, people who believe in Buddhism. But sometimes I find it very challenging for me when I talk to some people from diverse religions. For example, people think that they don't need to worry about tomorrow or next year or 10 years from now because this is under the control of God. They think that they don't have any control or any chance to shape their future. For example, once I wrote an article and many people criticized it. I said, some of my Muslim friends, they say, whenever I say, let's meet for coffee, they say, inshallah, or which means, if God will. Or I meet some of my Christian friends and I say, why don't we plan this and that? They say, if God will. And now I respect that. If people are saying that, inshallah, or if God will, in Amharic, which is Xavier Kala, that's fine. If they are saying that God controls the future, if we have a chance to work in the future, yes, we are ready to do it. But if it is like an excuse not to plan, as an excuse not to take action, as an excuse not to take responsibility as humans, I think that bothers me.
Okay.
So what do you think? Why many people think that planning is ungodly?
Okay, so let's kind of go back to the question you asked. Is planning ungodly? Is kind of the question you asked.
Yeah.
So I'm not answering this as a kind of religious authority of any kind, but I'll just mention a couple of very practical matters. Okay, so we as human beings are spiritual beings. Okay, so we have religious affiliations depending on our faith, and we also are natural beings. So I'm talking about the natural aspect of things. So we are here on earth, okay? And a lot of things we have, we pay our bills, okay? We pay, the last time, if you are supernatural, if you have the power to kind of jump, kind of fly around and make miracles, that's another story. So I'm not talking about that. So most of us are natural, everyday people. So even within the religious realm, let's say you want to be a pastor, okay? You want to be a priest, okay? So if you want to be a priest, you just don't get up and say, you don't declare yourself a priest. You do some planning, or you go to priest school, or you go to seminary, right? That's kind of some form of planning, okay? Or you want to have a congregation, okay? You want to have a congregation of 100, okay? You have to have a building, some kind of preparation. You have to have seats, okay, where you can accommodate those people, the congregation. So on a practical level, you still have to do planning, even as a godly person. Also, let me just share with you, I'm kind of like, we all kind of touch different religions. I'm a Christian, I'm a born-again Christian, and I come from a Muslim family, and my uncle is a very wise Muslim man. And one of the things he shared with me is, he said, balance two things. He said, when you think of your life, okay, your life, he says, you have to think as if you'll die tomorrow. So what that does is, you become, you kind of tend to be righteous, you do the right thing, okay, when you know you are dying tomorrow. At the same time, he says, when you handle your adunya, or you handle your earthly matters, you have to act as if you'll never die again. So it's kind of like life is a balance. So, I'm a religious person, so I pray, I do all my religious activities. And at the same time, as a practical, natural person, planning comes in to handle all our earthly, natural activities. So I hope, that may help, just kind of as a practical person.
Yeah, because, here we're talking about how planning is very important. If we don't touch this thing, people may have this question, behind their mind, saying that, why should we plan? Because God is the one who controls, and we have to just get up and just receive tomorrow, without planning. But I want to challenge our audience that, okay, Gabe and myself, we have our own perspectives and beliefs about planning. What about you? Why don't you talk to your next person, your friend, your colleague, your mentor, your teacher, or maybe your coach, and so on. Discuss about how planning is not ungodly, because unless we address that part, if we think that we are violating the authority and the mandate of God, when we plan, we may not plan at all. So I challenge you, if you don't believe, of course, planning as something that's godly, something which is not really against what you believe. So I challenge you to discuss this individually, regardless of our opinion about it. That being said, let's move to
do you mind if I just let me offer my audience here, if you are a very practical person, about your upcoming year. I'm just talking about you as a person. You as a person, okay? Your name may be Smith, your name may be Kabada, and your name may be Lakach. I don't, whatever your name is, okay? I want you to think of yourself, things you want to do, you want to improve on in your life. So as we kind of get deeper into this, I just want you to think of things you want to improve in your life. If you are happy where you are, you don't want to make any improvements, just kind of go shopping, okay? But if you want to make some improvements, I want you to kind of pay attention to our conversation. Thank you.
I like your suggestion. So I just want to touch that. I know it's very sensitive for many people. I think we try to be respectful of people's religious belief, but we, as our friends, as our colleagues, we just suggested something to our audience, saying that, hey, this thing first to be addressed is if you feel like you're violating, let's say, the authority of God in terms of the future, then you won't really listen to us because you think that we're trying to take you away from your comfort zone. That's why I wanted to directly ask them if this is a question where you are struggling, discuss with other people and see and find at least a room to plan, as you said, for some milestones. Let's say to plan for their weddings or plan for their next year, this year, plan to lose weight or reach certain financial milestones and so on and so forth. That being said, I want to ask you...
Assegid, let me just,
yes.
if you don't mind, just to kind of, since we talked, to our religious brothers and sisters, here is something I do. I develop personal plans and business plans and family plans. And as a person of faith, I pray about them. I pray to God to help me, to give me the wisdom to fulfill those plans and to also connect me with the right people so that I can accomplish my plans. So I think, the natural life and the religious life are not in conflict in my life. So I pray about them. I also ask for wisdom so that I make the right plans. So it's kind of can work together the way, according to kind of like the way I run my life.
I like that because, regardless of their religious background, they could be Christians, Muslims, or follow Buddhism. It doesn't matter. They can plan about the future with the God they believe. They can partner with Him than just plan by themselves. Let's talk about why this reflective planning is different than other types of planning. I believe that there are many types of planning. Approaches that when people plan. So why do you think this reflective planning is special and important than other types of plannings?
Okay. Early on I tried to kind of define reflective. Reflective is kind of thoughtful. For one, you're kind of like you're not randomly planning or forecasting, as you alluded to early on. So you are thinking about it, and also you are making it real. Okay. Based on your values and based on what you want to accomplish, and also based on your own success patterns. It so happened here in North America, this is our Super Bowl weekend, for those of you, okay? Some of you may be watching after the Super Bowl outcome is well known, okay? So for people, for the two teams that are playing, in the Super Bowl, there is one game technique that I know of, especially people who, here in North America, in football, the people who play a key role in each team are called quarterback. And one technique most quarterbacks use to be successful, to have the right throw and the right catch and everything else, is something called visioning. So they kind of, visualizing or visioning, okay? So that's kind of pretty much what they call it. So and also when teams plan their game against their opponent, they kind of see the tendencies of the other team. For example, you want to tackle the quarterback of the other team. So let's say under pressure, when a quarterback is when you pressure him, if he tends to run to the left, you want to know that to tackle that person. So reflective is kind of knowing tendencies, your own tendencies, and also tendencies of who you deal with so that you make the appropriate plan. So I hope I did not confuse you with all the Super Bowl talk or quarterback talk, but the point being you want to be reflective of what works so that your plan is real and your plan becomes more successful. So that's why I call it reflective planning.
I like it, by the way. So how do we reflect? In other words, what are some of the questions we should ask as we reflect and develop our plan?
Wonderful. So there, I came up with 5 questions you can ask as you do reflective planning. Question number 1, what are your proudest moments? Okay. You ask what are your proudest moments in your life so that you know what your values are. and things you are proud of. Okay, that's kind of one question. We can get into it a little bit later and give some examples. Another question you want to ask is, okay, in this planning season, whether it is for summer or for 2015 or, after your birthday, whatever it is, what is it that you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish? What is one thing you want to accomplish? That's the second question you want to ask. The third question you want to ask is, on a personal level, what are some personal changes you want to make to improve your quality of life? Okay. 4, career-wise, what are some career changes you want to make? That's question number 4. Question number 5, you want to go back and ask, what are some of your best attributes? What are you good at? So these 5 questions tend to be more on the positive side. Why? You can build on your strength, on your positives, on your values. So mind you, we are not asking, what are your pet peeves, or, who are people you don't like, or what are things you don't like. We tend to want to focus on the positive things because you can only build on your positives or your strength.
I like that, because rather than focusing on something we don't have, something we lack, or something we are weak of, why not focus on our strengths? That's a smart way of doing. And I think I like this reflective planning, because your reflection is on the positive things, as you said, on your values, something that you are proud of, something that you want to achieve, something that you consider your strength. Yes. So let's ask the first question, you and me.
Yes.
What's your proudest moment?
Now let me get into. There are people who say, why is this just so much focused on the positives? Again, let me take you to the football field. Whether you are playing football, American football, or soccer, you have fans who are cheering for you. Okay, so that's one conducive environment, for players to succeed. Or here in America, when there is football, there are cheerleaders, okay? There are cheerleaders who kind of rah you. So you don't carry a whip, okay? Or you don't scare the players, okay? So I think, if you want to accomplish good things in life, you need people who are cheering you, people who are encouraging you. So there is a lot of research that shows good performance comes out of encouragement, positive energy, cheerleading, rather than using a whip, okay? That's why, in the Western world, where there is a lot of innovation, there is a lot of encouragement provided to innovators. So when people are innovators, people come up with solutions. We give them funding, we give them opportunities, we give them media attention. We call them stars, and they tend to. We don't throw them in jail. Okay, I mean, there are countries who jail their very valuable people, their innovators, and that's why you don't have a lot of innovation. But if you look in countries that are successful, they encourage their innovators, they encourage their job creators, they encourage problem solvers. That's why we have more share of problem solvers, people who come up with cure to diseases. And so if you want to be successful personally, you want your own cheerleader. So hopefully I made a case for why we need to do
It's powerful, and I'm very much happy that you brought it, because it's physiologically also very, very healthy. Because, for example, when you think positive things, you induce hormones that brings peace, happiness, health, and so on. When you think something negative, you induce hormones that stress out your body. That means they are unhealthy. So thinking positive is great, but the first cheerleader of your life, your organization, is you. Yes. So that's why you wanted people to ask. So we are asking you, what is your proudest moment? Before we share our proudest moment, what is your proudest moment? Because this generates a kind of positive atmosphere for you.
Energy.
And
yes.
you induce energy that's positive. Yes. So let's talk about what is your
Absolutely.
proudest moment.
Let me give you one. I try, I want to kind of maybe remain kind of simple, kind of keep it simple. 2 things, just related to this reflective planning. I have started using this technique in the last 2 years, and I have used it on a whole bunch of friends, family members. And I would say that is one proud moment. So I have kind of people who have kind of been an accountability partner, where they have been able to accomplish a lot of their goals. And I have used this technique myself. So kind of in terms of business, we've been able to accomplish a lot of goals by using this technique. And so I would say one proud moment is that I have been able to help at least 24 people since the start of 2015 that I have put them through this process, including you.
Myself.
You and I did this, right?
I enjoyed you, me,
yes,
James,
sir.
And
a few other people.
Yeah, so I think you did a good job. Through that discussion that day, I could be able to see so many things about myself which I haven't thought about before. It's good to have this kind of colleagues and friends who asks you, people who ask you questions that are very important for you. So today, I want our audience to ask themselves, saying, or their friends or their colleagues, what is your proudest moment? Let them feel proud by remembering one of their proudest moments. I shared already during our discussion about one of my proudest moments. Today I want to share one of my other proudest moment, which is when I submitted the proposal for the Hour of Empowerment show for ESAT, and when it was approved, that was one of my proudest moments because I got a chance to serve second generation Ethiopians.
And I'm cheering for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you got that approved?
Oh yeah, that's
so
approved.
Was that a cakewalk, or did you have to make some justification?
Yeah, you have to justify. Remember,
okay.
ESAT is mainly serving Ethiopians. So Ethiopians, the majority of Ethiopians speak Amharic. So bringing a topic, bringing a show which is done by English, which is not our official language, was a challenge. But ESAT saw the potential. ESAT wanted to serve the second generation Ethiopians who don't understand Amharic. ESAT also wanted to serve professionals, business people, community leaders of Ethiopians to have this kind of opportunity where they also get the opportunity to learn from other people who don't speak Amharic. So we have to speak in English for them to learn from other people from other cultures. And also to provide the international community. There are many international community members who are interested about Ethiopia and Ethiopians. So I got a chance, for example, to introduce you to the international community, people from other cultures, to share your wisdom, your insights. You have been a consultant, you have been a trainer, you have a great organization that serves many organizations, government agencies, and so on. So because of this program, because we're talking in English, we could be able to serve, also introduce you to the international community. So that's why I'm proud that ESAT endorsed that program, and here we have the second program.
Wonderful. Let me talk to our audience here. Listen, you may be watching this show, and you are doing reflective planning, and we are on the subject of your proudest moment. So your proudest moment may be something very personal. It may be when you had your first child, or when you got married, or when you won the lotto. By the way, if you win the lotto, think of ESAT, and I want you to call this young man or call me to just kind of help you out. So whatever it is you are proud of, that's what you talk about. So whether it is personal, professional, or organizational, or whatever it is. So I just want you to find your accountability partner and share that and ask them to kind of challenge them to identify their proudest moment. Thank you.
Yeah, this is great because you mentioned that, my proudest moment is different than yours.
Absolutely.
Different than, the people who are watching. So you gave them the chance also to celebrate some of their great achievements. So let's talk about also the second question, which is, what's one thing you want to accomplish in this year?
Perfect. Now, Assegid, let me kind of explain just a little bit about how to tackle this. So we said, you have limited resources, limited time. So we talked about focus. Okay, in terms of focus, I know you may have 15 things to accomplish, which is just want to focus on one very important thing you want to accomplish in the year to come, right? So just to give you one example, just something I've been thinking about is, in my business, I have, this year, one of my goals, one of the things I want to accomplish is to develop business leaders, okay? Okay, a business leader is successful when it has business leaders. So we want to develop different lines of business. For different lines of business, I'm focused on developing various leaders by encouraging them, recruiting them, giving them training, mentoring them, giving them opportunities, cheering them, okay? So that is my goal for 2015, is to develop leaders of various lines of business within my company.
That's great, because you mentioned that we have so many things to do. Some of us may be ambitious, we want to do tons of things in one year. But the question here is, what is that one thing
You're right.
I like because, organizations who succeeded are those who focused on that one thing. Individuals who succeeded are those individuals who focus on that important thing, because that one important thing brings the opportunity, the resource, the network to achieve more things.
You're right.
In the
Kind of
future.
gives you focus.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean you stop breathing. It doesn't mean you stop walking. It doesn't mean you stop eating. You do all of these things in life, but that just is one area where you are marshalling all your efforts.
Exactly.
Okay.
For example, to make it a little bit simpler, let's say that they have $50,000 per year. Where do they want to invest the majority of this money?
Yes.
They have 12 hours, let's say, per day to work on something. Where they want to invest the majority of that 12 hours.
You're right.
So there's a question of focus, a question of priority. So let me ask you, which one thing that you would like to achieve in 2015? Challenge yourself, challenge your colleagues and friends, and find out that one thing.
And write it down. Write it down. I want you to write down early on. The first question is your proudest moment. Write it down. Second, what it is you want to accomplish in 2015 or in the year to come. Write it down. What one thing that you want to accomplish.
That's great. So let's ask the third question you mentioned about what is one personal change you want to make to improve your quality life?
Now, in this reflective planning, we want to connect your business interests, your career interests with your personal well-being, your quality of life. So whether it is a question of your health, whether it's just a quality of life, other matters and your relationships and other things, that's kind of one area we want to focus on. Like one that I set out for myself, what is one personal change I want to make to improve my personal quality of life is most of us spend a lot of time on smartphones, right? And so do I. I have my own share of spending a whole lot of time. So mine is to spend less time, to be very conscious and kind of unplug as much as possible. Spend more time with people around me, with family members and other friends.
In my case, I have been busy in the last more than 20 years, as a youth leader, student leader, full-time student at the same time, full-time employee, establishing 3 organizations, writing books, and so on. I have been neglecting relationships, and one of the comments that I get from friends and colleagues and family members is about nurturing relationships. So one thing that I want to improve this year is to invest more time to nurture, to flourish my relationships.
Wonderful. And actually, I have seen some of that, son. I'm one of your cheerleaders. Last time you invited me out to lunch. Right. And I keep thinking about it. And you owe me one lunch, right?
Yeah.
That is one way.
Today or
absolutely.
Anytime.
Anytime after 4. That's kind of like 6 years ago. Okay. I made this personal commitment. I do 1 meal a day, okay, which is another chapter by itself. One meal a day. So that's a good thing.